Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Salad Bowl Podcast. I'm your host, Kevin Thompson, and here at the Salad Bowl Podcast, we like to explore and celebrate our individuality. Today, we're going to be talking to somebody, I must be honest with you, that I really don't know that well. We've crossed paths in life, and we've never had a conversation that lasted longer than maybe 10 minutes. But I knew that this person could bring some kind of intellect or some content when it came to explaining what he brings to the Salad Bowl of life. So I'm extremely excited to present the next episode of the Salad Bowl Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to the Salad Bowl Podcast. Of course, it's the podcast where we explore the value and celebrate the value of our identities. Today, we're hopping into an episode with somebody. Well, to be honest with you, I would love to tell you that I know this person, that we've been friends for many years or something like that, but we haven't. Actually, this person I've had a very limited time with. And to be honest with you, that's one of the things I look forward to when I put this podcast together, of bringing variety to my guest. I didn't want to just have my wife, didn't want to just have my best friends. I wanted people that I was interested in their stories and interested in their lives, and have to bring us different ingredients to the Salad Bowl of life. So today we have with us Ruben Hernandez. Ruben is an awesome dude. I've had very limited exposure, but every time that him and I have come together, what I'll say is it's a vibe. To be honest, it's just a vibe.
Thanks, Kevin.
Welcome to the Salad Bowl, Ruben.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
Man,
Thank you
brother,
so
just hopping right into it, man. You and I, we've worked in the same spaces. Mm-hmm. Of course, that, the time that we spent together has been very short. I don't even think that you and I have had a longer conversation than 10 minutes.
Until the last time
we
spoke at the office when I was checking out.
Yeah.
We actually sat down for a good 35, 45 minutes, and it was a very, very awesome, deep conversation.
And I think that's something that actually led us to what we're doing today.
I know.
Because I was like, wow, there's a lot of meat on those bones.
I know. I feel like there was always like a little connection between us.
For sure.
I always felt like a vibe too, like you just said.
Yeah.
Since I met you with Julio.
Yeah.
I always said, hey, that dude seems pretty cool and pretty legit.
Thank you, man.
Pretty authentic, like very, very humble and kind.
Oh, man.
And that's one of the things that I tend to notice.
Yeah.
That little touch of kindness,
yes,
which is kind of lost sometimes.
It is a lost art.
Not because people lose it or want to lose it, right? It's just sometimes we're just busy or just doing this and that. But I always saw Kevin, and then I made the connection, right? Well, he's friends with Julio, which is one of my best friends.
Yes.
One of my favorite traits of Julio is his kindness, right?
Julio's a great guy. Hopefully one day I can have Julio on this podcast.
Oh, you will, most definitely.
His voice is amazing.
Yeah.
Yes. Julio has like a...
Julio is a star, man.
Oh, my goodness. He don't even know he's a star, but he's definitely
Shout out to Julio. We love you, man.
Shout out to Julio. So we've had limited exposure to each other. We know each other through people. But I'm interested in finding out who you truly are, because every time we have talked, I felt like I learned more and more about who this wonderful character actually is. If you had to describe yourself, or just, give me an aspect of who you are that I haven't seen, or just for the listeners to get to know you, what would you say about yourself?
Okay. That's not an easy question to answer, right? Who am I, right? I guess I'm a little bit of everything and a little bit of nothing, man. It all depends. I've had multiple versions, right?
Okay.
But just let me summarize it, right, as best as I can. I'm just a regular dude looking for answers, man. I'm looking for an authentic way of living, and trying to figure it out as I go. Yeah. I can't tell you I'm this or that, or I'm just another dude looking for answers and doing the best I can.
I think that is probably one of the biggest compliments. And I think the people that I vibe with the most is the ones that just characterize themselves as like, I'm just a regular. And I don't think they're downplaying themselves at any.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not.
But it's just like, hey, I recognize that I'm human. And I think there's a lot of value in just being human.
Honestly, Kevin, if I was to give you a very honest approach on who I am, I'm just another fool in the hill. And it was not until recently that I become okay with that.
Okay. What let you to being okay with being a fool on the hill?
I don't know, man. I think for the longest time I was just trying to do so much and trying to find myself in so many aspects of life, like work, people, ideals, all these things. But the reality is that I just don't know. I haven't been able to figure it out. And most days I felt like a fool in the hill. And, I struggle because that's not necessarily related to success, right? You don't want to feel like you don't have the answers. You don't want to feel like you don't know where you're going.
Yes.
So I struggled with that for a little bit, but then I realized, hey, it doesn't go away.
It doesn't.
There's a constant feeling coming back, and maybe it's not that bad, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe it's okay to be a fool. And when I say fool, right, I'm not using the word fool with a negative connotation. I'm talking more about a simplicity, a more simple approach to life, where I don't need to know all the answers. I don't need to know where I'm going. I don't have to have so much control, or what I call an illusion of control, right?
Yeah.
And I've become more okay with that.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I mean, usually when you come off with an ideology like that, one of the biggest things about what I do for work and why I kind of put this podcast together is like understanding that there's a formula behind how people present themselves, right? Yeah. Like usually it comes from our socialization of like how we grew up, the things that we did right, the things that we did wrong. Can you kind of take us back and tell us how this formula of Ruben Hernandez came to be?
Yes. So grew up in Puerto Rico. I'm an island boy. Yeah. The island life is a little bit more simple than many other places. Just by the size, we're 100 miles by 35, right? Wow. I think the Everglades in Florida is that size.
Wow.
Puerto Rico has always been a little behind trendy-wise when it comes to some of the technologies, cultural movements. And I don't say that in a bad way. I think it's awesome. It allowed us to just go slower.
Just be.
So grew up in Puerto Rico. I was a surfer dude. Regular kind of dude, big into sports, played some baseball back in the day. I come from a very humble, loving family. Awesome. I was lucky. And I did it all, man. I did it all. Very curious since I was a kid, always in trouble. But also very smart, very intelligent. Like school was very easy for me all the time. And, just came up, right? Played some baseball. That gave me an opportunity to come to the States when I was young. I was actually a pretty decent baseball player back in the day. They called them prospects, right?
Yes.
So I got a scholarship, a full ride in junior college in Florida.
Nice.
Did that for a little bit. Had to go back to Puerto Rico because my dad died. My dad died. He was 42 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah, my age. I'm 41.
Yeah.
So I had to go back, and that gave me an opportunity to kind of like redesign the plan. So I went and studied a little music. I did a lot of classical music, classical guitar, and that started another chapter in my life.
Well, before you move on, I mean, you bring up Puerto Rico, and I think that most people, especially probably our listeners, go to Puerto Rico for a vacation, and you start off by saying it's a simple life. I had an opportunity to go for work to Puerto Rico. I went to the base down there, Fort Buchanan down there.
Yes.
And during my time there, I was kind of blown away. The thing that stood out to me about Puerto Rico was just, you talk about authenticity, and it was just unapologetic down there. There was like this pride of being Puerto Rican.
Yes.
Was just, I was being American and especially being in the military, I'm pretty sure you've dealt with this, but when you travel to different countries, we're used to people putting, the platter out for us and accommodating for the American public of like, you're going to speak my language, which is English. You're going to try to accommodate to our American culture. But when I went to Puerto Rico, I got something very different. It was more like I showed up and I don't speak Spanish, but it wasn't like people felt sorry for me because I didn't speak Spanish. It was like, this is our culture. We're unapologetic about it.
Yeah.
You either order this food or you don't order this food.
Right.
And I thought it was great.
Yeah, and we're pretty open. Like most Puerto Ricans will have a base in in English, right? So you'll be able to communicate.
Right.
But yeah, Puerto Rico kept its own thing. A little different from the United States. The United States, if you think about it, is a place where everybody comes, and we're all kind of foreigners if you think about it.
We really are.
And you'll see different like little spots where there's different cultures, right? You'll have the Italians, you'll have the Irish, you have the blacks, you have the Latinos, you have the Mexicans, and all these subcultures, right? Puerto Rico doesn't have that. Puerto Rico is not a land of foreigners coming in. It's a very local, so that gave it a space to develop and grow mostly in one way culturally.
Yes.
And that's what you get there, man.
I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, and we are really proud. We are really proud about it. We really happy people. We think we know that we have something to offer authentically.
I would definitely say so. And I'm not just talking about like the food it's just, you could tell that culture lives.
Puerto Rico, is called the island of enchantment.
Ooh,
for a reason.
Makes so much sense.
Yeah, you go there and you get enchanted. And it's a combination of things. The beauty, right? It's a beautiful tropical paradise, right? Beautiful weather, good people, fun people, a lot of talent, a lot of good food.
Yes.
Beautiful women, beautiful men. We have a sense of community down there, and that's a big thing for me. I've been all over, and sometimes I've seen that that's not necessarily present in many of the places that I've been. Puerto Rico, all the neighbors knew each other. We all took care of each other.
Yes.
A hurricane came and there was no electricity for months. You're cooking this, we're feeding the whole, and everybody's bringing a little bit things. So there's a very, very, very awesome sense of community there.
Yeah, I think that's one of those things that it's hard to quantify how important a sense of community actually is but it's one of those things, you know it when you see it, or you know it when you feel it.
Exactly.
It's like you feel like you're part of a community.
I'm telling you, man, that's one of the things I miss the most. That sense of community. Usually over there, it's very likely that you stay somewhat in the town that you grew up, right?
Okay.
So you'll have your cousins, you'll have your grandmothers, and because Puerto Rico is so small, even if you don't do that, let's say I grew up in the West Coast, which is about a 2-hour drive from the city, and a lot of the people will go to the city looking for fortune, right? And jobs and education and all these things. But even that is just a 2-hour, an hour and a half drive, right?
Right.
And we could come and stay from Friday to Monday and then go back. So it was always present. It was always present. When I came to the States, you're kind of like on your own, dude.
Yeah. Did it feel like, I would imagine that leaving Puerto Rico and the way that you came up, even though you were going to do something you love as far as playing baseball, did it feel like you were unplugging from Puerto Rico, or was it more like, hey, I'm taking my brand and I'm bringing it to America?
So baseball is an interesting topic in my life. I can't tell you I loved baseball.
Okay.
Yes. I loved baseball when it was a game until around, I was 13, 14 years old. Amazing. I used to have a blast. Then it became, as soon as I was selected as a potential draftee or prospect, it changed. And in my case, and I'm not saying that is the case with all my friends, right? I had a lot of friends that was their jam, right? But in my case, it was more of like my father,
Yeah.
pushing it, and I think it was sometimes I think it was somewhat his dream, but I was good enough, and it made sense, right?
Yes.
And I kind of went for it. When he died, then it was like maybe I should do it to for his memories, right?
Memorialize.
Yeah, memorialize him and just trying to see where that takes me. But yeah, when I came here, it was tough, dude. I come here to the United States alone. As a kid, dude, you're a 17-year-old guy from a small island. I spoke English, but it wasn't. I wasn't super fluent. I was really nervous. It was a shocking experience. And man, the reality is that you come as a Latino man, you might not be welcome in most places. But that's a different topic, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think I was the coach's favorite guy for whatever reason. I don't want to say I don't want to think it was my color,
right,
or my culture, or all these things, but I know.
And I think so. This is one of the things that I think sometimes we shy away from when it comes to us talking culture, because people we use these terms like DE&I, or like, especially when we start including race. I've heard people say, well, people are just choosing to be victims. I think we can have the conversation of like, maybe it was my race, only by acknowledging the fact that America has had a history of classifying certain people by race, literally with our laws and how we disenfranchise people. It's not far-fetched for us to think that there is a second and third order of effects of those things and how it can affect our lives individually. I really don't like wasting time like going on searches of like, oh, that person's a racist or this person's a sexist or anything like that. I feel like we lose a lot of time doing that. But I think we can acknowledge. I just think it's a reality, right? It is a reality,
and we see it on a daily basis. We really and we need to sit down and talk about it.
Yeah.
We don't need to point fingers, like you said.
Agreed.
We don't have to play the victim role. And I'm not taking away from those who are victims, right?
Yes.
But the reality is that yes, it's a reality, and we should be able to talk about it. We should be evolved enough by now where we shouldn't be dealing with this crap, but it's still there. And recently it's come out even more, right?
Yes.
For whatever reason. And so yes, I think we do need to speak about it from a friendly perspective, maybe from a healing standpoint, maybe trying to figure out how can we make it better, dude. And,
exactly. I think those are healthy conversations.
I think so too.
Especially when we can sit down as brothers, we have some conversations, even in our passing conversations, the short ones that we've had. We haven't agreed on everything, or it's not.
We don't have to.
We don't have to, but we can still have a conversation.
Yeah, and your experience is your experience, and my experience, and like Bob Marley used to say, every man thinks his burden is the heaviest, and that has a lot of truth to it, because it's only the cook who knows what's going on in right. But if we start giving ourselves open spaces for us to talk about our reality, then maybe we can learn a little bit about each other. That's the only way.
I would agree. And there's this exercise we used to do in some of the workshops that we used to put together in what I used to do for work. And there was this one exercise. It's pretty popular on YouTube, but we would get everybody out on the field, out in front of our building, have everybody line up, and then we would ask them as facilitators, ask the students questions, things that they had no control over. Things like, hey, did you grow up in a 2-parent household? Right? You didn't have any control over that, because that's between you and your mother and your father, or your mother and your mother, or your father and your father, right? You had no impact on that, but it could have given you a better perspective or a better advantage in life. So we asked them this whole list of questions. And I remember going through it as a student the first time, and where people are moving forward, people are moving backwards, taking steps forward and backwards. And then at the end of the exercise, we have this vast amount of space between the person who's in first and the person who's in last. And I played out somewhere in the middle, to be honest with you. I didn't grow up poor. My parents, they were in the military, so I had some advantages in life. So I played out in the middle. But the quote that you just said from Bob Marley, every man thinks that his burden is the heaviest. In being in the middle, I could not help but just to think about who was in front of me rather than who was behind me. right?
Yeah.
Like the people who were less advantaged than me, I was so worried about, well, why am I not up in the front, thinking that I have this whole burden, and there's somebody in the back that would love to have made it to the middle just to have the same advantages I had.
Exactly.
It was eye-opening to me, and it just made me think of that when you brought up that quote from Bob Marley.
Yeah, I think it's complicated. I think we are complicated beings. Sometimes I wonder if we are so, if it's just how we're built, right? Where, that's how we function, our brains function. We're really, really one linear on our needs, our specific need, or is it that we just lacked a little bit of cultural awareness in growing up as a collective, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, who knows, man? Maybe it's a little bit of both, right?
Maybe it is a little bit of both.
Maybe it's all about, but most days you'll find yourself, and I'll find myself thinking about my problems and what's next. What's the next venture? Why am I not there where that person is, right? Yes. Almost not caring about anything else, right?
Of course. Maybe it's just the way our egos work.
I think so. I think it's a little bit of lack of awareness, right? Yeah. Where we have to refocus our thoughts.
Yes.
Constantly.
Effort.
And for that you need a lot of time and energy and practice, right? I just think that we were not taught to be focused.
Yes, I would 100% agree with that. I do want to allow you to continue with your story, brother. Like, you talked about, hey, you left Puerto Rico to play baseball, but you had to come back to Puerto Rico under unfortunate circumstances.
Yes.
And then found yourself refocusing.
Well, just like I am right now, lost as a goat. I found myself lost again over there, right? Mm-hmm. That entity that was really crucial on that baseball chapter was gone. Right, so I didn't have many excuses anymore, and I just wanted to be back home. So I came back home, right? And I wanted to do music. I always wanted to be doing music. So I went back to school, and I say this because I didn't go to class, right?
Okay. Went to school, not to class.
Yeah, I went to school. I enrolled in college. Found me a bunch of guys, right? Friends some of them are still friends of mine today, musician friends. And we started jamming, dude. And one thing led to another. We started jamming outside the college dorm, right? But people would gather, and we were doing legit music. And then the first college bar said, hey, we'll why don't you guys come and jam here, right? And we'll give you an open bar. Mm-hmm. They messed up because we destroyed the bar. They were like, no way, never again. We'll give you $200 and 2 cases of beers, right? But people, our friends started showing up, and one thing led to another and another. And then we found ourselves touring in the island with the big breweries and the big rum companies, and negotiating with a small indie record label, right? Mm-hmm. So it was a really, really, really fun experience. But we were super immature and dumb. Yeah. And we were doing all kinds of stuff that we shouldn't been doing, right? Mm-hmm. And the band couldn't handle it, right? Mm-hmm. We were living the rock star life without earning it, right? Or understanding.
Okay.
Without having the discipline and all this.
How does that actually happen? Okay, so the most I know about the industry, right, is you see bands take their turn and actually reach success, and then you see like the downfall. Does that downfall usually come from internal, or is it kind of external factors of being a band?
I guess every band probably, their story is probably unique, right? Mm-hmm. But there's some trends, man. It's not about talent. It's about the discipline.
Okay.
Some people have discipline enough to overcome the challenges that will arise. Because when you go into this field, it's open game. It's like welcome to utopia, right? Everything is permitted, everything is accessible, and it can go crazy real quick.
Yes.
In all kinds of levels.
Yes.
Lower levels, mid levels, and I don't want to imagine high levels, but I do have friends that had been in the highest of levels, right?
Yeah.
And they told me stories, and it's crazy, dude. It's a crazy world where everything is given: drugs, alcohol, people, sex, all this stuff that we think we like.
Yeah.
I think more than we do. But
I would agree. It's interesting in spaces like that. One thing that I've come to find out, and I've never been a rock star.
neither I. Me neither, brother.
He's being humble right now.
No.
He's on his way.
Not even close, man. Not even close.
But I feel like in spaces like that, and again, probably a conversation we don't lean into is when we have accessibility, we lack building character, right? Or we don't prepare people with their character, because one thing that happens is that, at least from my point of view, in places where I've been the man, or I've been the one that everybody's trying to chase, I've been in the front of the pack. I would say that in those spaces, moral drift is prominent. When I say moral drift, what I mean is like, you may have been oriented to believe a certain way. You came up believing that this is right, this is wrong. But when you're in front of the pack, sometimes those morals get a little fuzzy.
And I think I mentioned something like that to you in our last conversation. I wonder about morality and how where's it come from, and how does it apply? Why does it apply for some things,
not for others?
Not for others. Why, culturally some things are morally accepted here, not there. Go back 200 years ago, 150 years, 100 years ago. How that morality, like how real is it? And how changeable is it, if that's a word?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, dude,
that's a deep question, man. I mean, even as I think about it, as you ask it, like, where does morality come from? And I'm pretty sure there's some smart scientists or psychologists.
I think it's an invention.
You think so?
Yeah, I think it's an invention as many things.
Tell me more.
I wonder sometimes, dude. I wonder how culturally programmed are we or not, like, when it comes to these topics, right? Like, and I've had this conversation with some friends, and I've seen different sides, right? There, I have people that say, no, we lean into goodness. I'm not sure, dude. I'm not sure. Sometimes we act like animals.
I would agree.
And we're not that evolved. I was listening to this scientist, really, really well-known scientist. He's like a celebrity scientist. He was talking about us just being 1% more smarter than apes.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, that's not a lot. And look how apart we are.
Right.
We're that 1-2% more intellect.
Yes.
And evolution, right? So I don't know.
I've heard that some people say like it's our morality that separates us from being beasts or animals. Like the fact that we have the cognitive approach of saying like, well, this is right, this is wrong, this is bad, this is good.
I think it's a reality in the human beings, right?
Okay.
We have that capacity, but we also have the capacity to ignore it.
This is true.
So if I would give you my scientific approach, Dr. Hernandez here,
please.
I think we're evolving, and it's a trait of evolution, right? That has separated us from apes and other animals, but we're still very young in that process.
Yes.
And that's why it's like still,
Still figuring it out.
Yeah.
We all class. I guess our generation, where human beings are at right now, I guess we're all fools on a hill, really just trying to figure it out.
I think so.
All right. Well, back to your story. As far as like, okay, we're back in. After we get back, we find music.
Yeah.
You're reaching the epitome of local stardom as far as being a college.
At least we thought we
Yeah.
were. We were. Kevin, and I'm okay being as honest. We were living our own little dream. We were having a lot of
That's
fun.
still a dream.
I've always felt like I never knew how it got there so quick. I guess we were doing something okay, right?
Yes.
And there was a live scene, reggae scene back in the day,
Okay.
in Puerto Rico, and we had other bands that were killing it, and we're just kind of like jumping in their train,
Yeah.
and everything kind of like aligned, right?
Well, why reggae? Was reggae always your first
Dude,
love,
reggae is
or-
the most high, man. Yeah,
I would agree.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I had my different phases of music. I was a punk dude, you know, skater, surfer dude. But dude, I don't know what happened. First time I heard reggae, it just electrified my body.
Really?
And I never looked back. And I've loved all kinds of music.
Okay.
And I have influences in all kinds of music, right? Latin music, rap, reggaeton, all these things, salsa. But I don't know, man. And I've asked myself that question: how come this music just took over and it's become part of my life? But it did.
Yeah.
It did.
It's just a connection that you have with the music.
I just I love the rhythms. The bass line in reggae and the messages that the music tends to bring is a really, really healthy, positive, rebellious message.
Yes.
And it challenges.
Yes.
And I've always been a rebel without a cause. I
It's
guess.
interesting you say that because I'm from Atlanta, and hip hop is really big in Atlanta. I've listened to country. I've listened to a lot of different types of music.
Country's a little weird. But yeah, whatever, guys. It's fine. I can find some good in it too.
No, but what you were just saying about how it's like a organized rebellion. I remember me and the wife and the kids. We went to Hawaii, and we were out in Hawaii, and we did one of the hikes. It was like the pillbox hike that we did, and it overlooks the water. I remember reaching the pinnacle of where we were hiking at. It overlooks the water, and we had I had a backpack, and I had like a speaker in the backpack, and we were playing reggae.
Yeah.
And just like the words that I remember hearing, and just the view that I had, it made me feel something more than just listening to hip hop or listening to country music. It was a definite connection with the music just based off the lyrics and the tones of it.
Reggae. I don't know. I don't know how that happened. And we can go history. One thing leads to another, and it evolves to this and that. But dude, they figure out this musical equation that just works, man.
Yeah.
And it's like a rhythm to the heart. And even if you don't hear reggae or listen to reggae, a reggae jams comes out and it uplifts you.
It does.
And it gives you this vibe,
Yeah.
this like wave vibe. And you know, even if it's at a beach, at a vacation, or it's randomly in the car, it will bring a positive energy.
It does. A bit of optimism.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it took me like lightning, dude. Boom. And I was never
looked
able
back.
to. I can listen to music, but that's all. I listen to reggae. Like I always go to reggae. When I played music, right, I was studying classical music.
Wow.
Operas and all these things, right? And all I wanted to do is reggae. And to this day, the music that I want to do, that I do and I wanted, and I like to do and I want to do is reggae. Although yes, I do fusion with different sounds and things, but it's reggae.
That's awesome.
It's reggae.
That's
so
awesome.
yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe I was Jamaican or African in some other life.
Maybe we all have a little touch of something inside.
Yeah,
of us, you know?
hell yeah.
We're all connected in one manner of speaking or the next.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing that rise in initial stardom, or whatever we want to call it, came to an end. And did it start a new chapter in life for
Yes.
you? Or
So
like, where did we go from
yes. After that, you know, we were college kids, maybe 23, 24 years old. We got in trouble. We got in a little trouble. We were partying too hard. And, you know, some of the guys had to make decisions to, you know, change lifestyles, including myself. And then life happened. I then got married, and I guess I don't know, man. I guess somebody told me, or I picked up somewhere that, hey, we need to straighten up and do this. This is safer, and we need to find that family living, and the wife, and white picket fence, and a security.
Yes.
So I went for that for a little bit, and I got married, and I joined the Navy.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Isn't it crazy that, I mean, we talked about morality a little earlier, and like even you just saying like, oh, when we gotta straighten up, we gotta get on the straight and narrow. I always wonder, like, why is the next step like, oh, I need to find a wife and have some kids with a white picket fence, as though that's the only thing that could solve the not necessarily issues, but that's the only thing that solves.
But I think that's connected to a specific cultural, like I said before, linear way of living, right? I think in the past, like since we're babies, they're telling us this is the idea of success. The success should be you following the rules, and getting good grades, and trying to find a career that makes sense, financial sense, right?
Right.
Finding a wife, creating a family, and I guess all of that is part of it, right? It's necessary, but I don't know why it's so pushed. It's strongly recommended,
Right.
Instead of just pretty much letting us be and promoting, because it's not about not doing that.
Right.
It's about not promoting anything else, or seeing everything else as a failure, or seeing everything else as wrong.
Yes.
I feel like we should have these conversations. Hey, you don't need to do this. You don't need to go this specific way. Take a few years to figure it out. Mess up as many times as you want. Try a few careers. Travel. Do this. And then maybe if none of that works, and you want to try this, then that's an option there.
Yeah.
I think a lot of us are striving for a dream that is a repeated dream.
Yes.
That we saw at home, that we saw outside, or we didn't have it and we saw it somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Nowadays, I don't know, dude. I don't know.
And it also makes me think of this, man. Say, for example, especially as young men at times, we go through phases where we do very unhealthy things.
Yeah.
And if I've been pushed, or if I've been in an environment where the only thing that is pushed is me to have a family, there could be some second and third order of effects of me not just destroying what I've done, but like the things that I've built around me by having a family. Maybe it wasn't time yet, and maybe by rushing into it, I put more at risk than just myself when I make decisions like that. What do you think about?
You're totally right, man. You're totally right. I think we get to places and situations without even really, really understanding what it means, or the severity or the importance of things. We're very rushed. Let's go. It's like a go. Since kindergarten, you need to go. Let's get those stars.
Yes.
Let's get that scholarship. Let's get that perfect partner.
Yes.
And
even down to the day-to-day things. Let's make sure you have that social media post ready. Let's make sure you have that next goal in mind that's right around the corner, that's easily achievable, so we can feel better.
I think it's all shenanigans, Kev.
Yeah.
I think it's just a craziness of the world, or the route we've chosen as a culture. I don't know if it's because we're still defective, or we've just been played. But I think we rushed. They're telling you, you need 17, 18 years old. You need to grab your stuff, go to college,
right.
And repeat.
Yes.
And repeat.
It's interesting you say that, and like this whole go to college thing. And I'm not knocking college or university at all. I just recently finished my bachelor's degree.
Good for you, man.
Thank you, man.
Congratulations.
I always say that kind of in a weird place because I knew when I was 18, 19 years old, there's no way that I had the discipline level to make it through.
I still don't have it.
But the interesting thing about what you just said is, though, now that I do have a degree, a bachelor's degree, I think back over my time during college, and this is not me discouraging people from going to college. This is simply me just saying, like, as I look over the time that I spent doing college work, I'm not sure how much I actually learned.
I do want to challenge college.
Okay. And we can challenge it. I feel like that's the point that I'm bringing up, because it's like, I'm not sure how much I actually learned. I was exposed to some concepts that I was already familiar with, and I spoke about them from my perspective or my experience, but I'm not sure how much I actually learned. And I think about how much money is being spent off this ideology of, hey, you just got done with this high school thing. Now you're going to dive into this thing to where you're going to make a choice of a major, of how you're going to spend the rest of your life. And I just don't think that is realistic.
I know, man. We get out of high school not knowing one piece of information about taxes, barely knowing how to do an egg, fry an egg, zero knowledge on emotional regulation, very, very weak on social skills, like healthy social skills. And then we jump into this big place to learn another big thing. I have a problem with it, Kevs. And I'm not saying you do whatever you want. If you want to go to college, go to college. If you don't want to go to college, don't go to college. Either way, I'm going to say good luck. Nothing guarantees you success. And success can be very, very different for everybody, right? I'm struggling with college right now, dude. And I agree with you. Like I'm finding myself at 41 years old having to take a college finance class, 101. Dude, I've been divorced. I've lost it all many times. I've made it again. Like, you know, I've been filing taxes for 20 years. The college topic is very interesting to me. I think college should be more focused, shorter. I don't think you need 4 years and 120 credits to learn a trade.
I agree.
Especially now that we know that even with a bachelor's degree, you come out and you don't know nothing about the job. 100%. Even with a master's degree, yes. You know a little about research. You know how to research things,
right?
But it's specific to a trade or a job is not. I think it's all a business too, man.
Agreed.
And a way to keep us lined. You know, I think it's ridiculous that we go to school at 4 or 5 years old. You're trying to teach me the scientific name of a butterfly, and you've never seen the butterfly. Then why not change it instead of, hey, let's go play with the butterflies. Look at it, sit with it, ask questions about it. Yeah. Don't make me memorize. You know, we keep doing this memorization game where we bottle up a bunch of information and it's go. We take a test, forget 80% of the stuff. So how are we really learning? Yeah. I don't know, Kev.
I feel like in order to learn, you have to be able to connect with the content of what you're learning.
And sit with it.
Yeah, and literally sit with it.
Sit with it and understand it your way.
Yes.
It's not necessarily memorizing.
Right.
Always.
And it's interesting. I even think back to like my history classes, even coming up in high school. I was like a lot like you. I was a troublemaker, and you know, I was mischievous in high school.
Dude,
shout out Columbia High School, class of 2006. Y'all probably know how much of a headache I was.
Let's go.
But I remember being so mischievous because I didn't connect with what I was learning about. Sitting in civics class.
So you were curious.
Was very curious.
But I feel like sometimes these processes are a curiosity killer. And I've always rebelled against it. I was smart enough to where to me it was really easy to complete a test. Anyone can memorize anything, but were we really analyzing? were we really talking? No, there's no time. We want to do 100 things in 4 months, and then you have 8 classes with 100 teams. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, literally impossible.
It's impossible.
Yes.
I don't know why it was built that way. I have my conspiracy theories, but I don't know why are we still keeping it that way.
I would agree.
When we've advanced, we've grown, we know what works now and what doesn't work.
Yeah.
You know, I understand, right? But the problem with the go and the continuity and the copying, right? We keep copying what was before. Our parents had to go to work really quick, go, right? So they need to put us in school because they can't take care of us.
Yes.
So it just,
the cycle repeats itself.
the cycle repeats itself. And at some point, until we say, hey, stop. Let's do a little redesigning, maybe, see if this works. Yeah, I think it's not going to change much, man.
Yeah, I would agree. One thing I will say about college is this. It seems as though it is a place where some go to find their independence.
Yeah, that and I guess if I've thought about this, right? I try to make sense of as much as I can, right? It's called a university, right?
Right.
You know, if I connect it to the world universal, you get a little sense of the world, right? And you know what's out there. And so you get information and you get diversity. So I don't think it's all bad, right?
Of course.
I just think it's if you take it down a notch, right, and slow it down, we could have an amazing experience. I think the same with school, regular schooling, right? If we slow it down, we could have a great learning exchange experience.
Yes.
Same with college and same with work. But
it's not necessarily I feel like a lot of times with school, we're shooting for compliance of a curriculum rather than really trying to teach people what we're trying to get them to learn.
Yeah, and what happens with this is that you get so busy that you barely have any time to learn some things that should be more important in the beginning.
Right.
Like how to handle relationship, how to why not focus on emotional regulation? Why not learn about basic skills, surviving skills, like the need for you to clean your place and cook yourself a meal and all these things that you know, you get to college with college classes, you know, you almost have an associate's degree out of high school and you know, what's the point of calculus, man? How many? Let me ask you, Kevin. How many times have you used calculus
or
pre-calculus in the past 25 years?
Shoot,
dude,
man,
you barely know how to do basic math. Because we don't need it, right? Unless you're an accountant, right? Or unless you're a mathematician, then you take those kids and you focus them, right? And if it's going to be an engineer, all that things. But I'm like, we're learning all these things, but in such a quick, fast way that are you really learning?
Right. Yeah.
No, you're not, dude.
You're not learning at all. You're what they would call going through the motions. Right?
Yeah. If you ask me one fact about the history of the West from 1940 to like I
don't know.
And I kill that class.
Yeah. A plus.
I got all the stars, man.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
that's a great point.
And then now I think about all this realities, and I'm like, dude, maybe we're just fools in the hill.
Yeah, you bring up a good point because you brought up a class that would be beneficial on how to understand relationships. If you would have had a class on what healthy relationships looked like when you were in high school, coming out of high school, going into college, do do you think that you would be divorced now, or and maybe? And I don't want to put that pressure on.
Yeah,
that,
no.
that
And I'm okay. I'm totally fine talking about whatever you want to talk of. I'm trying to be nowadays, and I emphasize in nowadays as honest and as open as I can.
Okay.
Yes, Kevin. If we, since day one, we would make a priority learning to become emotionally open and knowledgeable and honest and curious and all these things, right? I think we would do a lot better. And who knows? Maybe I didn't get to a marriage because I would have known myself enough to understand myself at the point where I wasn't ready to be in a relationship.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to go and jump to the next thing without the tools or the knowledge or the experiences, which, end up in a divorce in that case, right?
Of course. I think relationships are so hard, though. I mean, like,
of course.
I don't know what a curriculum on that would look like, but I do.
It doesn't have to be a curriculum. It could be okay, guys. 2 times a day, we're just gonna sit down and talk about real stuff. How you feeling? How's your heart? Like I asked you the other day.
Oh my goodness.
How's your heart, man? Kevin. Oh, that's fine. You're doing great at school. Oh my God, you hit a home run yesterday. That's awesome. But how are you? How are you feeling? Like, are you happy? Are you sad? Are you exhausted? Are you frustrated? Can we talk about it?
I think that's one thing that I'm going to adopt from this episode specifically, and what I told you.
Oh,
that I'm gonna steal
take
from
it,
you.
take it. I took it from someone else.
Oh my goodness! Like, how's your heart?
Yeah, how's your heart?
That is a question right there. A question that
we men don't speak like that. Nobody
really
teaches
don't.
us. Nobody teaches us to be soft like
Right.
that. And when I say soft, I'm not comparing soft to hard.
Right.
I'm just like I'm a soft person. I'm a soft man.
Yeah.
I am not this alpha type dude that I thought I wanted to be, which I saw in a movie.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. And or these alpha type dudes that they want to sell you on all these courses on Instagram.
Yes.
Where they want you to make $1 million a day. Like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Some of the most alpha people that I've ran into, especially in our line of work of being previous in, military, the most alpha guy in the room usually has the biggest insecurities. That's one of the things that I've been able to.
Actually, I recently saw a post or a reel, and they were talking about the alpha wolves, right? I always had the conception or the idea that the alpha wolf was the wolf that was in the front leading, and it was never that one. It's always the one who stays in the back.
Yes.
The one who eats last. The one whose only concern is the ones who dropped. And so that sounded like a very, very emotionally aware alpha wolf. So.
And that's you bring up a good point, because I think that we've been using the term alpha male in the wrong context, because it's not necessarily just the strongest wolf or the strongest person in the pack. Really, it's the person who's going to take care of the pack.
Yeah.
Which you need to be a soft place to land in order to do things like that.
Yeah, and you have to have a certain amount of awareness for that, and discipline and maturity to say, hey, I am going to be the last one, even if I fall. I'm going to let them eat, even if I don't get to eat, right? And I had the opposite idea. I thought alpha was being Arnold Schwarzenegger, hunting predators, which I joined the Navy thinking I was going to do that. Wrong.
Did you get the hunting?
Not even close, guys. But I'm not going to put down the Navy. Hoo-yah. But yes, dude. I wonder where we get all these ideas, right? And I feel like we're gatherers, right? We're gatherers of ideas, goals, ideologies, fashion.
Yes,
we go through life just gathering crap, and that transfer to we gather cars.
Yes.
And we gather tennis shoes, and we gather houses, and and nowadays, dude, I've had to kind of like stop my tracks and say, what have you been gathering, dude? Because I recently realized that I've been doing all these things lacking awareness and not consciously understanding what I was doing.
Oh man,
and I think it's just, if we go back to that school, and society mentality where it's just go.
Yeah.
Because we're such in a hurry. We're in a hurry to go where?
Yeah. It's interesting you just said that, man. That's extremely powerful. Like, what are we gathering?
What are we gathering?
And I think there's so many things. This is why marketing has such a big part in our world right now, because they're ensuring that they're putting things out there for us to gather. But if you really just, take a consensus of what am I gathering, even when you ask that question, I thought about specifically a lot of the negative things that I've gathered from society, as far as like the way that I move around, in life. Like, why do I put more value in this rather than this?
You don't know.
Like, why do when I see that person, my immediate bias is whatever goes through my head? Why am I prejudiced to this type of thing? Why? And really, to tell you the truth, the only thing that breaks those type of thought processes for me is education. Like, when I educate myself with something beyond that bias or that prejudice.
And you have to be careful with that too, because education coming from where?
It comes from
right
where you're gathering from, right?
And if you think about it, high-end education versus lower-end education, it's like, good luck with that, right?
Right.
I think we need to get to a point as human beings where we have to become focused enough. And when I talk about focus, it's not being a focus about a goal. Mm-hmm. It's like a mind game where you need to become so focused where you catch yourself on almost every thought. And you challenge every thought. Wow. Because there you'll find a space to another possibility. If we don't do that, and I don't know how I got into this practice. I really don't know. But I've made it a little mission of myself to be better at that. Yep. Catching myself, because I wonder for how long, like you just said, I've gathered this, and it just became a habit, and it became a habit so hard that it became my personality.
Yeah.
And I don't think personalities are a set thing.
I agree.
You can change your personality anytime. Yeah, you'll have traits that you took from your parents, right? And genetic, right? Let's say DNA wise, there's some things in there, right? But for the most part, you and I've seen it a million times, a person can be totally different. Yeah. By a rock experience that happened, right? Something rocked his life and changed his life. So I think the only way for us to really, really find out where we gathered, which is the question that you just did, is you need to become focused enough to catch yourself.
I really like that. I think the biggest growth, especially over the last maybe 5 years of my life, the biggest growth that I've seen in myself is when I've asked myself, or if I've told myself this phrase, choose curiosity over certainty.
Yes.
Right? To where instead of being certain about this, Kev, instead of saying, oh, I know exactly how I feel about that, be curious enough to say, there's a different perspective out there. There's somebody who probably thinks the exact opposite of how I think. And I'm going to be curious enough to ask the question of why they see it differently. And that's actually helped me in my growth as a man, as a husband, as a dad.
I bet.
Just by choosing curiosity over certainty.
That's a great approach, dude. That's a great approach. And I wish we, since day one, since we're kids, somebody would have taught us that.
Yes.
Choose curiosity.
Yeah. It's as simple as that.
Choose curiosity. You don't want to do that. Let's be curious about why.
Yeah.
And most likely when you start that conversation, it will stay somewhat guided into a mix of all of the concepts, right?
Right.
Science, you know, this, that, and like curiosity doesn't mean, it's just that sometimes we tend to talk about curiosity and some of these concepts and that becomes like, it's a rebellious mindset.
Yes.
And no, I actually think it's our nature.
Yes. I would actually say that is probably one of the biggest divides in our military right now when it comes to our people, is this newer generation of service members that are coming up seem to ask why a lot more, right? You say, hey, I need this done. They say why because they want to know the why behind it. They're curious,
right,
of how this thing works. Back when I was coming up, and I would assume in your time in as well, us old dogs, it was more of just like, do what you're told, go out there, follow the order, don't ask any questions. And now curiosity is and we actually really have time to explain why we're asking people to do things. It's like pissing a lot of people off because it's like, we see it as disrespect, the fact that you're curious.
It's pissing off the people that is, it's time for them to
go ahead
to move on and do something else. Yeah, it is what it is. You know, time changes, people changes, we evolve. We are not to judge how we as a collective in the humanity evolves. It just happens, right?
Agreed.
And I'm glad that it's happening, dude. Mm-hmm. I'm glad that people are asking questions. Because I think we wanted to accept this or not. The lack of challenge, the lack of questioning, is those really strict mindsets a lot of the times are based on fears. And you know, it's easier to go the path that you know, you know, because you have fear of the unknown. We don't want to say it like that, right? No, it's like, oh, this just makes sense. It works. No. Let's look deeply inside, and a lot of these concepts were, you know, created out of fear and to keep you grounded. And I'm all about the opposite, dude. And I fell into that too, dude. It's not like I've struggled all my life in the back and forth, one foot in, one foot out, because of fear, right? And I've tried all this path that I really didn't care for. Because of that, because of fear, because this is, somebody told me that this is the way and this works, and nobody knows, because it might work for somebody, it doesn't work for everybody. You know, if it worked, then you wouldn't find miserable people in that path.
You're right.
You know, it seems that we're miserable here and there and that. So yeah, I think challenging is just in our nature.
Yes.
And it's okay, and I'm okay with the new generations, you know, being more challenging. I applaud it. That's the way we create change, and we are smart enough where to, like, you challenge something and you realize that there's no other way for that, you'll accept it. Yeah. You'll accept it. But when you want to push it, right, without letting me be curious and challenging things, and you tell me no, then I will have a problem with that.
100%. I always like to tell people that challenging ideas is not synonymous with disrespect. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not the same thing. If disrespect and challenging ideas are not the same thing, though we make it seem like it. Like, if I say, hey, I disagree with what you got going on. Especially if I'm a senior person, or if I'm higher and you're my subordinate or whatever happens.
If we're talking in the military, and that's not the best place to challenge, but it will happen.
It will. And I would say that we probably won a lot of battles based off of somebody saying, hey, why did we do it that way? Literally, the whole idea of doing after action reports and stuff like that is us questioning how we did things so we can make things better.
Well, the wasn't the United States creating on a rebellious, challenging the king?
Oh, yeah. It's literally part of our history.
It is part of the deal. And yes, there's going to be some structures in life. And it's, like I said, it's not about challenging just to challenge and just to be approved. Right. Because there's also, it's about balance, right?
Yes.
It's about healthy challenge. It's okay for me to question and say, hey, I want to understand more.
Yeah.
It's not okay for you to say, hey, you don't need to know.
Exactly.
But from all the extremes, right? From 1 to 100, there's 99 other possibilities, 98 other possibilities,
100%.
and we should be able to explore them all.
And I do think that there is a difference of challenging ideas, and I'm like what you said. I don't want the listeners to think that I'm saying go around challenging everything just to challenge things.
I do say that.
Now, I would say like if we have a basis behind the challenge, feel free to challenge.
Right.
What I don't want it to get mixed up with is being an what's the term? An obstructionist, right?
Right.
You're just getting in the way of people learning.
Right.
And you're just getting in the way of, hey, I see that this is the path that we're on. I just want to get in the way or obstruct this thing.
Yeah, that's
You're just wasting a lot of time
nonsense.
and energy.
That's just nonsense.
You're gonna piss a lot of people off.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense. But if it's an honest curiosity and you want to know and you want to learn, then yes, you're entitled to that and go for it.
Yeah,
go for it, because that's how we invent things. That's how we create things. That's how we change things.
Yeah.
Of course, guys, there's enough information out there nowadays for us to not put ourselves in places where those opportunities are more limited. Right? Because, for example, we're talking about the military, right? If you want a place to explore and to be curious and to be a little rebellious, that might not be the best place for you. And there's enough information for you to understand that. Like, if there's some structures and there's some institutions that are built certain ways for certain reasons, right? And if you you're a wild goose and you have a problem with authority and you want to challenge everything, yeah, you should look for a different path, right?
But don't you think, just to oppose you in a certain sense and respectfully, wouldn't it be a little confusing, because a lot of our stories that we cherish in the military are stories of people challenging the orders from higher in order to go save the day. I think about the Medal of Honor recipient, Dakota Meyer.
Yeah.
And this dude, we'll call him badass. Like, this dude went back into a battle like 3 different times to go save Marines when all his leadership told him not to. Him and a gunnery sergeant jumped in a Humvee, went into battle, guns blazing, and went and saved Marines and the people that needed to be saved. And they challenged what they were told. I think that we could indirectly be channeling or attracting certain people in certain type of mindsets when we cherish those type of stories. Right?
I think that's just how we are, right? So we have to embrace it. It's just going to happen. It's going to be there. What I meant is, I was trying to give you an advice on making your life easier. But yes, it's just going to happen, dude. That's how it built. And it needs to happen.
Yeah.
It needs to happen. If not, we're not going to have stories like that. We're not going to have those Marines saved.
Yes.
Because it's not even about the Medal of Honor. It's not even about the guy being a badass.
Right.
It's he just went for it, right? And because of what he did, some people was saved, right? And they got to enjoy a lifetime, a longer life, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's just our nature, man. We go back to the balance, right? There needs to be some structure, right? It just needs to happen. Yeah. Like if not, it's really hard to build if you don't have a foundation and you build a structure, right?
Yes.
And that applies to life itself in many ways. But as long as we healthfully challenge almost everything, I would say, out of curiosity, out of wanting to understand and to grow, not like you said, as just being an obnoxious person just to challenge and just to be negative Nancy, as long as we are in the right mindset, I think it's all game, dude.
Yeah, 100%.
I think it's just part of our human nature, man. And if we kill that part, anywhere we go, then we're not complete. There we won't find our full potential.
I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. So, I mean, we talked about your early days of stardom. We talked about how you transitioned.
You keep saying that word.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep on.
I can't grin you.
But you transitioned into some time in the military.
Yes,
so
yes.
Went into the box.
Yeah.
Of kind of, hey, I'm looking for I got married. I would join the military.
I've tried it all, Kev.
Right.
Fail at all. It's been fantastic.
Yes. So all those trials and errors, where does that land you at nowadays?
Yeah, dude. So I did, almost a decade. I did the Navy thing. Very interesting experience. It got me here. Got me to New Orleans. Finally, dude, I think, after trying all these things like you ask, I recently went to like a moment which I call my midlife crisis, right? And I fell to my face again, right? After a divorce, I got depressed and I lost it all again, pretty much. Family, the house, the white picket fence, the children. I was raising children. I don't have children of mine, but I was raising children for almost a decade. Mm-hmm. And then I'm not enjoying my work. Financial problems. Divorces are expensive.
Yes.
Dude, I fell on my face. It was amazing this time because I've fallen many times in my life, but this time, I don't know if it was out of luck or maybe maturity. It felt different. It felt different. I felt like I had a level of consciousness and awareness that allowed me to see the truth and the reality, not from a victim's perspective. Mm-hmm. And I realized that I was fully responsible for where I was in every sense of my life. And as hard as realizing that was, it was actually the greatest gift of space for me to really, really see and not point at no circumstances, mm-hmm. but myself. And when I say that, I don't say it from a perspective where I'm punishing myself, right? I needed to see my own truth, and I think it was one of the best things that had happened to me. And this whole shaky chapter, it's been like 2.5 years when it started, and yeah, it rocked my world, but it rocked it differently this way. It rocked it in a way where I realized that the offer that I was giving myself and the world was not a conscious, aware offer. It was like, I felt like I was in autopilot for how many years? Mm-hmm. I can't even know. Honestly, I would say since I was a kid, doing the next thing, like we said earlier, just gathering all these ideas and these goals and never sitting down with myself and asking myself the hard questions. Like, for example, who are you, dude? Mm-hmm. Do you like what you're doing? Do you like your life? Are you happy, man? How's your heart? Yeah. Where do you really want to go? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want all those things that you were gathering? And in my case, I realized that no. Yeah. No, and I wish somebody had talked to me and like this before when I was younger, maybe. And that's why I said maybe talking about emotional regulation and just talking about life itself.
Was it hard? Was it? I mean, because that sounds scary to me. As far as like making a pivot at this point in your life, where it's like, hey, I've lived my life up until this point. I've done things this certain way. I believe these certain things. Now, based off of this significant emotional event, now I'm going to pivot and take a different direction. Is that, were you scared?
It's scary. It's scary. I'm having all kinds of emotions right now.
Okay.
Scared, but I'm really excited.
Okay.
I'm happy and I'm sad, because you go through all these loss processes, right? And loss is loss. Even when you lost things that you don't like, you go through like a certain briefing loss process, right? But for the first time in my life, I feel like I'm aware of it. So I feel alive in a way. It's a weird sensation where I say, bring it.
Yeah.
Bring the pain. Bring the sadness. Let me sit down with it. Let me learn from it, instead of wanting to go to the next thing. Let's go. Because I caught myself doing that throughout my life, just going to the next thing. Okay, so I got divorced. Let's go to the next relationship.
Right.
Let's start dating.
Yes.
Let me start a
dating app.
A dating app. And okay, I don't like my job. Let me start studying something else. And I said no. This time I said no. I said, sit down. Let's take a break. Let's slow down and see what's really going on.
Yeah.
And it's actually been some of the craziest years in my life, the past 2 years, but also some of the best years of my life, where I found what I think is a more authentic version of myself, or at least the space to create more consciously a version that looks like I want it to be, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds and that thinks, right? And it's been fantastic, dude. It's been fantastic. Yes, it's been really scary because, it would have made sense to do another 10 years in the Navy, financial wise, maybe. But I hated it, dude.
Yeah.
I was struggling, and it would have made sense that I worked it out with my wife, maybe. But at least a lot of people said that. But internally, I knew that was not going to be the right choice. And I just went for it. And I found many, many things, dude. I found recovery, and I found sobriety in this process. Not because somebody told me not to do that,
right?
Or because, you're gonna get in trouble if you do that, right? I had to have a sit down with myself and realize, like I said, that my offer to myself first was not complete. It was just a bunch of things that we gathered. It was not a conscious offer where I sat down with myself and I said, hey, this is how it should be.
Yeah.
And I'm going to create it from a healthier, more aware, conscious space, instead of just repeating what I saw, dude.
Yeah, I really like that. And you spoke about authenticity, just living in a more authentic self of what you've been able to find.
I hope so. We try that, and it's another trial and error.
It is.
Like I'm not set to this version that is coming out of me.
Of course.
I've had 20 versions of myself. This is another one.
Of course.
But now I feel like I'm more in control.
It's more strength
to mold it.
Yeah.
However I want to.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, no, I think it's a gift, dude.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of leads to one of my last questions I have for you is like, we call this thing the Salad Bowl podcast.
The Salad Bowl, I love it.
We're valuing different individuality or celebrating individuality in itself. But, I think the Salad Bowl really stands for really what life just brings us.
Yeah.
And of course, all of my guests, I've been trying to scope this question and make it a little bit easier for my guests to answer, and just to get a good answer out of the people I sit down with. But like, the Salad Bowl is representative of life. What do you think you bring to the table? What do you bring to the Salad Bowl as far as like your values, your skills? What does Ruben Hernandez bring to the salad bowl of life?
I bring it all, man. All the good, all the bad, everything in between. I bring the experiences. I bring the tears. I bring the music. I bring the screams. All of it, dude, because that's what we are. We are all of it, dude. We're a mix in complexity and sounds and silence. So I hope I bring it all, man. I hope you do too. I know you do too. And I think we all bring it all. And that's the beauty of it. I think we are all a unique salad bowl in a bigger salad bowl.
Yes.
And it's incredible. It's complicated. It's up, it's down.
It is.
So yeah, that's what I bring to my salad bowl, man.
I really like that answer, brother. And the last thing I do want to do with you is just, I always like to, and what I plan on doing with my future guests is like give my future guests and yourself a chance to end with a last word from you. What do you want to tell? And I've told my previous guests, I don't know who's going to be watching. I can't say that I'm the next Joe Rogan or that I'm going to have a big following, but is there a message that you have for the listeners of who will sit down and watch?
First of all, you're way cooler than Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is overrated. Bad actor. Right. Bad actor. Hi, Joe. I hope to go to your program one time.
Hey, he's gonna cancel me.
I hope so. No. Hey, this is the guy, man. This is the guy. No. But joking aside, just bring yourself, man. Just sit down, ask yourself the questions. There's always every day is an opportunity for you to redesign, start again. It's never too late. Because if you don't do that, then life might happen, and you might realize that, like I did, and I'm talking about my experience, that you didn't even know where you were. And I don't want you to be lost. I want you to find yourself as soon as possible, so you can offer yourself as soon as possible, because it's not until you really, really, really find yourself where you can offer yourself. And I'm not talking about your job. I'm not talking about you being great at this. It's like that unique, beautiful person that you are. Until you connect with that person, you can't offer it. You just offer little bits of it, and that person comes out, right, and this and this and that. But when you connect with that person, when you connect with that real you, it's 24/7, and it's that. I think that's the only chance that you get to offer that all the time. And that requires discipline. It requires focus. It requires you catching yourself getting lost in what is not you. So I really, really, really hope that you make it a mission to find yourself and be okay with whatever that means. It doesn't matter how it looks like. It's perfect. And yeah, that's what
ladies and gentlemen, that's how it goes right there here at the Salad Bowl Podcast. Just searching for that authenticity and finding that real you. Brother, I just want to say a couple of things before we conclude here. Just one, thank you for taking the time.
Oh man, it's a pleasure.
Sit down and talk with me.
It's a pleasure, man.
Again, I mean, this was a conversation between people who have, we necessarily haven't had many conversations. I wasn't a childhood friend of his, but that was beautiful. Just how we were able to come together and still just converse and on similar topics and have different experiences and still put it all into one salad bowl.
One salad bowl,
get
man.
something great and healthy from it. I got a lot from a lot of the things that you said, brother.
I did too.
Thank you for taking the time to come.
Anytime, man. I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud of you, Kevin. I think this venture is very important, because this is what I just said. This is you digging in. And I'm proud of you, and it's an honor being here, man.
Yeah. Thank you so much, brother. Much love to you. I will say y'all need to go listen to Roots Militia.
Check it out, guys. It's everywhere,
Some
man.
great music. Please check them out. I'll put it in the end credits of how you can find Ruben and his music. But please make sure that you like, subscribe, comment on the episode. It's probably going to be the things that we can look back on and say, hey, this point was one that you needed to watch. So as always, we appreciate you here at the Salad Bowl Podcast. Much love to you and your families, or even if it's just yourself out there, just watching yourself, much love to you, and have a great day. Hey,
peace.